What's happening, everybody? I'm Todd Tanner. This is Wrestling News Now. This is part 2 of the WWE's annual third quarter report. Before I get to the third quarter earnings and beyond, once again, I'm making an appeal for those of you that have been viewing. Thank you very much. Thank you for hitting that like button for the hot topics that you like to hear about and know about, especially real life stories. And I'm going to be bringing more behind the scene real life stories of your favorite professional wrestlers. Listen, y'all, help me to get the subscribership up on this channel. Please, I'm asking. Ain't too proud to beg, but I'm asking. Please hit that like button. And also subscribe to Wrestling News Now with your boy, Todd Tanner. All right, now let's talk about, I'm going to review something here about, start with the third quarter consolidated results. And here it goes. Revenue increased 19% to $304.6 million, primarily due to an increase in core content rights fees for the company's flagship programs Raw and SmackDown, and the monetization of the third-party original programming, to a lesser extent higher consumer product licensing revenue and international ticket sales also contributed to the increase in revenue. Wow, that's a lot of bread, a lot of cheddar. Operating income decreased 8% or $5.1 million to $58.9 million, as the increase in revenue was offset by an increase in operating expenses. The increase in operating expenses was primarily driven by higher costs to support the creation of content, as well as the impact of certain costs related to the special committee investigation. The company's operating income margin decreased to 19% from 25% rather. Adjusted OIBDA, which excludes stock-based compensation and other items included in operating income, increased 17% or $13.3 million to $91.2 million. The company's adjusted OIBDA margin remained flat at 30%. Net income was $41.7 million or 0.9 per diluted share, a slight decline from $43.5 million or 0.52 per diluted share in the third quarter of 2021, primarily reflecting the decrease in operating revenue. Cash flows generated by operating activities were $54.5 million, or a slight decline from $56.9 million, primarily due to lower net income and higher working capital requirements. Free cash flow 3 was $3.5 million decrease from $44.8 million, primarily due to an increase in capital expenditures. For the 3 months ended September 30th, 2022, the company incurred $42.3 million of capital expenditures related to its new headquarter facility. Excluding the capital expenditures related to the new headquarter facility, free cash flow for the 3 months ended September 30th, 2022 was $45.8 million. Now let's talk about the return of capital to shareholders. The company returned $9.1 million of capital to shareholders in dividends in the third quarter. There were no share repurchases under the company's existing share repurchase program. As of September 30th, 2022, the company had $210.9 million available under its existing $500 million stock repurchase authorization. And the results by operating segment, this schedule, so check out. Let's talk about the 3 months ended, the 9 months ended in the year. All this is reflective in 2022, 2021, 2022, and 2021. Revenue increased 15% or $30.3 million to $233.0 million, primarily due an increase in both domestic and international media rights fees related to the company's flagship programs Raw and SmackDown. The increase was also related to the delivery of third-party original programming. That is the third quarter report. So the 3 months ended, 9 months ended. B, core content rights fees consist primarily of licensing revenue, from the distribution of the company's flagship programs Raw and SmackDown, as well as its NXT programming through global broadcast, pay television, and digital platforms. And also other revenue within the media segment reflects revenue from the distribution of other WWE content, including but not limited to certain live in-ring programming content in international markets, scripted, reality, and other programming, as well as its theatrical and direct-to-home video releases. Operating income increased 9% or $6.9 million to $86.1 million, as the increase in revenue as described was partially offset by an increase in operating expenses. The increase in operating expenses was primarily driven by higher costs to support the creation of content. Adjusted OIBDA increased 10% or $8 or $8.3 million to $93.9 million. So let's talk about the revenue that happened with the live events the third quarter 2022. Revenue increased 26% or $7.2 million to $35.2 million, primarily due to an increase in international ticket sales from the company's major stadium event. Cash at the Castle. There were 58 total ticketed live events in the current quarter, consisting of 57 events in North America and 1 international event. Average attendance at the company's North American events was approximately 6,300 people. In the prior year period, the company returned to staging weekly ticketed live events for the first time since the onset of the COVID-19 outbreak. In the prior year, the company staged 42 total ticketed live events, consisting of 38 events in North America and 4 events in international markets. Average attendance at the company's North American events was approximately 8,300 people, which reflected pent-up consumer demand as well as a higher mix of larger capacity venues. Other venues within the live events segment reflects revenue from the sale of travel packages associated with the company's global live events, commissions earned through secondary ticketing, and revenue from events for which the company receives a fixed fee. Operating income increased 5% to or $0.5 million to $9.6 million, as the increase in revenues was essentially offset by an increase in event-related expenses. Adjusted OIBDA increased 5% or $0.5 million to $9.8 million. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo here, so that's why I'm breaking it down in different segments. It might be, let me see here, how much more we're going to do here. Well, it's going to be probably about maybe 4 or 5 segments here. So what I'll do, I'll put in some features to kind of break up the monotony of the official talk here. All right. So for Wrestling News Now, I'm Todd Tanner.